Welcome back to the Today with Tally podcast, folks. We've got a great show in store for you today. We're going live to celebrate 1 year of the Today with Tally podcast. But first,
hello, friends, and welcome to another exciting episode of Today with Tally. The mission and goal of this podcast is to bring an engaging conversation that will add value to the lives of everyday people. We will inspire, encourage, educate, and tell the stories of America's finest men and women in an effort to motivate you to live your life to its fullest potential. Be sure to follow us on social media and search Today with Tally. Be sure to subscribe, follow, and share the program as well. Ladies and gentlemen, your host of the evening, Mr. Brian Tally.
We did it. We hit the 1 year mark. A year ago, I went on a walk. I went on just a gratitude walk. I started walking every single day and started to kind of take my life back, day by day and get that 1% better. And I had this feeling come over me that I sincerely believe was God telling me what I was going to be doing in the next stage of my life. And a podcast came over me, and it was a Monday. And so I said, okay, I'm going to, I've been called here to do something, to do a mission that's far greater than me, to tell the stories of everyday people and to add so much life value out there that so many folks could add in a meaningful way to so many people that may be going through some of life's toughest struggles. And so I accepted the challenge. And the very next day was a Tuesday, and I put something out there I was looking for a guest, and Brandon Mancini popped up and said, hey, I'll do it. And so Tuesdays with Tally was born. I didn't know what it would morph into. So basically, I became totally obsessed with this podcast, and it's brought me so much joy and so much happiness over the last year. We would go on and we would do several of these podcasts. And then finally, I think about the 6-month mark or so, I changed the name to Today with Tally because I was doing shows almost every single day for a while, and people didn't understand why it was Tuesdays with Tally on a Thursday or on a Friday. So it is Today with Tally now. And up to date here, we have done, I want to say it's 178 shows in a very short period of time here. And really, at the end of the day, it is, all because of the amazing guests that I've had forwarded to me. And so many people have reached out and said, hey, how can I be, become a guest on your podcast? So again, 179 shows over the last 365 days. Before we get started in this 1 year celebration, I just want to remind you guys what the mission and the goal of the Today with Tally podcast is. And it's to add that real life value to the lives of everyday people. Thank you, Brandon Goss. I sincerely appreciate those kind words on the congratulatory 1 year with the podcast. I appreciate your support and you tuning in. I've been blessed and honored and very lucky to share some of the most amazing stories of triumph and really the ups and downs of life that we all face. And life isn't easy. And so if you have somebody that you can lean on and perhaps hear all of these different stories out there, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, you will soon find out that you are not alone in this walk that we call life. Never giving up, perseverance, resilience. We've had so many shows that are all over the place. It's not just the stories of veterans, it's the stories of people that can add real life value. So we've had educational shows. We've had shows that teach advocacy and how to fight for yourself in an honorable way. We have highlighted so many veteran nonprofits out there that are doing some great work in their communities. We've recognized people for their involvement in their community and all of the efforts that they have put in to making a lot of these veteran events across the country great and turn out wonderful. Brian Roof, thank you. I sincerely appreciate those kind words, and I look forward to seeing you, I think, next week on the podcast. So again, I just want to thank my listeners. I've got some awesome, very loyal listeners, my supporters out there. It's always good to have a good core man. My family, they've been completely supportive of this. And my sponsors. I've had some amazing sponsors. I didn't even start asking for sponsors until about the 6-month mark, until I knew that, you know what, I think this is something I'm going to be able to do. Until I call it quits, but that ain't coming anytime soon, because I really love this. Again, it's brought me so much peace, love, hope, joy, and gratitude in words that I really can't explain, because I'm healing myself through healing others and really sharing so many great stories out there, like I said. Now, but before we get further down the road, I do want to mention my show sponsors that have been great supporters of mine, and I couldn't be happier and luckier to have these folks here by my side. Our platinum sponsor, who has helped me out so much personally, and I know he's helped so many of our listeners out there with alternative medicines. And that's Chase's Choice, our great friends based in Canyon City, Colorado. We've had Patriot Home Services, John Steelman Photography, Big Stick Bourbon, author Chris Whittemore, the author of Terror to Triumph, also a retired U.S. Marine Scout sniper. We've had Brandon Mancini with Herrick's Tea. We've had author John Henley. We've had 10th Mountain Whiskey and Spirit Company based in Vail, Colorado. We've had Lynn at Dreaming About the Mouse Travel Agency in Colorado Springs. Woodpecker Projects here in Houston. Dan Francis with the Mountain Man brand. This guy is awesome. I mean, he's living it up in Colorado. He's got a nice ranch out there, and he has got a brand out there called the Mountain Man brand, and he's been a great show sponsor as well. The Military Rodeo Cowboy Association. Jason Kelly with Rocky Mountain Electric based in Colorado Springs. Grill Your Ass Off, our great friends Jason Murph, a U.S. Army veteran. Guy was just on Fox and Friends the other day on the 4th of July, showing his brand of seasonings. Again, Grill Your Ass Off has been great. Third Coast Barbecue, we can't say enough about the Mulligan family and how much they have been great supporters of mine since day one. And Patch Ops. Tim Hickey, he's out doing great work in the streets of Cleveland. He's got a great business. What an entrepreneur. And the guy has a heart of gold. I am actually wearing a Patch Ops hat today. Now, why did I start this podcast? Again, it was to add this real life value to the lives of everyday people. And it all came to me on this walk. It has given me newfound purpose and passion. And like I was saying in my opening, joy and happiness. I've been able to recreate myself and reinvent myself, into something that I never knew was even possible. I'm not a podcaster, but I became one, and I kind of did it by jumping in head first and figuring it out as I went along. If you look at my first show and you look at my last show, there's been some growth there. And that growth has come through discipline and through education and knowledge and Just putting yourself around like-minded people and really learning from the best. In order to be the best, you got to learn from the best. And it's great to have good mentors to lean on, especially when you're trying a new endeavor and again, you're learning as you go. It's brought me so much gratitude. I've been able to create new relationships. I've been able to help so many people through this podcast. I've been able to help heal people, including myself. And again, it has been an absolute blessing. Again, with the friendships and removing yourself from this comfort zone. It's hard to get out of your comfort zone, but when you do, and you know that what you're doing is what you're meant to be doing, it makes getting out of bed every morning completely worth it. And it's so fun to come turn on these lights and this computer and to just do a simple podcast that could perhaps reach the hearts and minds of millions out there that needed to hear that word or that message that day. Now, I have had so many great guests, and again, I couldn't be luckier and so blessed to have them. And again, we've had a wide array of guests to include war heroes, singers, songwriters. We've had professional athletes, Olympic athletes, collegiate athletes. We've had news broadcasters, talk show hosts on some of America's biggest AM stations. We've had entrepreneurs. I love to celebrate entrepreneurs. Veteran entrepreneurs and just regular civilian entrepreneurs. I think there's so much value that can be added by really pulling out that value from men and women who have done it and have done it successfully, to share that message with others out there who may be interested in starting their own business. Authors, so many authors, great books out there. We've even had comedians on the show. And so much more. Literally, I have had every walk of life on this show. Every walk of life. Now, in my eyes, there isn't a bad episode out there. In my opinion, they are all great. And each episode has its own uniqueness about it and behind the story. That will speak directly to you if you allow yourself to listen and absorb the material and the information that is being presented to you through the podcast. Keith Fetters, let's see, have a topic about local Houston baseball teams versus national travel teams and the difference of the players' skill sets. Then add a topic about USA baseball level players versus PBR or PG national select players. Then add 5 tour Texas Premier Leagues. So many baseball. Keith Fetters, he's a baseball guy. He's got a great son who I think he plays on the USA baseball team. It looks like he's got a topic to come on and talk about baseball. Hey, it's big here in Texas, especially here in Houston. Keith, that sounds like a great idea. We got to have you on the show to talk about that. Jeb from Colorado, congratulations, brother. You the man. We love you, and I love you too. God bless you, Jeb. Served in the Marine Corps with that guy. I tell you what, a heart of gold. This man, he's one of the good guys out there, folks. He is definitely one of the good guys out there. Now, I wanted to go through some of our top performing podcasts. Now, it doesn't mean that they are the best ones. It just means that between the 8 platforms that I have where we stream live to, Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Twitter, and LinkedIn. These are the highest rated shows. From the top 25 is what I'm going to do. And out of what, 178, 179 shows, top 25 isn't really a lot, over the broad spectrum of things here. But I do want to go over the top 25. Again, I had nothing to do with this. And I don't want to hurt any feelings out there. There's 187, 188, 180, or 178 shows, and you may not be listed, but you have a great show that was genuine and sincere and had a great message, and you may not hear your name be called. But that doesn't mean anything. I'm just going off stats here on what people tuned into. And perhaps these people have a larger following, so they may have more people listening to their shows or whatever. But like I said, I encourage you all to go out to one of these platforms that I'm on and give them all a listen. And you will find some of the best shows out there didn't have a lot of views. Again, you can't judge a book by its cover. Just because it has 26 views or 80 views and another show has 1,000 views, it doesn't make it a better show. So I just want to go over the top 25. The top 25, again, that was not put out by me, but put out by analytics from Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Coming in at 25, we had Sean Laurie. Now, if I remember correctly, Sean Laurie is a recovering addict. And he's also a veteran who went through some really tough times in his life and overcame so many obstacles. And the message that he had to share was very powerful, extremely powerful. And I had a lot of messages after the show that I did with Sean, and you would be surprised on how many people are going through the same life challenges that Sean went through. And now he is a man on a mission, and he has got some great testimony to help pull people out of their darkness and to show them that there is a better way out there and you can heal. And Sean made himself very vulnerable, as a lot of my guests have. Extremely vulnerable, and have really opened up to me in ways that I never really knew that people could really open up on a forum like this. And really, at the end of the day, when people begin to open themselves up in a vulnerable way, that's when the real healing begins. And that's when people could start to get 1% better every single day and then build on it from there. So Sean Laurie came in at 25. Episode 24 was Eddie Gallagher. We just had him on just a couple weeks ago, and he's already made the top 25 list. Former U.S. Navy SEAL. He had some bad times in his life when he was accused of war crimes that would put his life in a downward spiral, and he would have to prove his innocence. A retired U.S. Navy SEAL who served honorably, courageously, and had dedicated a life of service to only have to prove his innocence all the way until he left the Navy. And he said goodbye on a good note after, again, he had to fight, not overseas, but right here in the United States of America, to clear his name of slander that some of his fellow Navy SEALs accused him of doing some very horrible things. And that show, episode 171, Eddie Gallagher, amazing show. That came in at number 24. Show number 23 ranked Eric Gilganast, a active duty Green Beret think he's with 10th Group. And he's also the owner of Gilganast Woodworks. This guy is one of the best woodworkers I have ever seen. And again, not to mention, this guy's a U.S. Army combat vet, Special Operations Green Beret. And if you want to listen to a great show and a great message of what it was like growing up, what it's like serving your country in the special operations community, and then additionally being an entrepreneur. I mean, this guy's done it all, and he's done it all very well. So that is episode 94, and that came in at number 23. I'm going to grab some water here real quick. It has been hot here in Houston lately, and it got my allergies going, and it's a good thing I took an allergy pill before this because boy, I tell you what, I'd be coughing all over the place right now. Yes, Jeb, the Eddie Gallagher show was indeed amazing. And talk about him opening up and telling us a lot about his case. Scandalous. Was something that really, really hit the hearts and minds of so many people out there. And until you can put yourself in a situation like that, you really can't explain the hardship that him and his family went through and battled. Coming in at episode 162, it was the 22nd most viewed show, is U.S. Army combat veteran Bradley Grutzner. This Purple Heart veteran would end up losing his arm in combat and has a story of talk about overcoming obstacles and hardships and bouts with anxiety and depression and trying to find himself again after coming home and suffering from the wounds of war. Episode 162, Bradley Grutzner came in at 22. Coming in at 21 was episode 41. Episode 41, Christopher Martini, writer, producer, and director. Now, Christopher Martini never served the country in the military. However, he does serve our community and our country every single day in different facets of life. He gives veterans a platform. He helps. He does documentaries on veterans and veteran stories. He even puts out like music videos, like the amazing one that he just did here in Texas with our great friend of the program, Shannon Book, the writer and the singer-songwriter of Dear Mom. Shannon Book Music. You got to go check him out. But Christopher Martini, he puts together just broadcasting excellence. Again, a writer, a producer, a director, and one of the best out there to do it. That came in episode 41, and it was the 21st ranked show out of the top 25. Number 20 was episode 71, Christy Statham. Now, Christy is a registered nurse, and she's a veteran advocate. She puts on shows all over Texas to help raise awareness and to raise funds for veteran nonprofits. And she does a very good job at it. And she's a volunteer. She works a full-time job. And that job's not an easy one. And then in her free time, she works literally a second job, but it doesn't come with a paycheck. Her paycheck is seeing veterans and veteran supporters at these veteran galas. Her paycheck is to see the success of these galas and the success of these fundraisers that she puts on. And again, so much hard work goes into what a Christy Statham does. And she came in at episode in the top 25. She was episode 20. The 20th most watched show, and it is episode 71 if you guys want to go check it out. She also shared some some stories, from her childhood that still haunt her to this day. And I sincerely believe that is why she is on the mission that she is right now to help save veterans. 22 veterans a day is what they say. It could be 17 to 40, who knows? But it is an epidemic in this country, and she's one of the good ones that are standing by so many veterans out there and first responders alike, and helping cut down on the veteran suicide rate that we have currently going on in this country. And without folks like Christy there to help, we would be in a much worse position than we are. There's a lot of great veteran advocates out there, and you cannot mention great advocate without saying the name Christy Statham. Coming in at number 19, and it was episode 102. One of the largest and biggest voices in the Houston area is Kimberly Moyers. She's a veteran advocate, and she carries a lot of weight, and you will see her at almost every single veteran event there is in the Houston area. You will see her in Austin, beating down doors, advocating for legislation, and she literally has dedicated her life to advocating, and she does a really good job at it, and she doesn't pull any punches. She'll just give it to you straight. What you see is what you get from Kimberly Moyers. And she's very involved. And that was episode 102. So if you guys need an advocate, or if, you just want to speak to a fellow advocate, I know a lot of advocates like to hang out with advocates. They have a lot of commonalities there. And you don't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to become an advocate, because being an advocate it's not a fun thing to do. And it can't talk about not coming with a paycheck. And, there's not a lot of reward that comes out of being an advocate until you pass what you're looking for, or until you start to change the lives of the people that you're helping, or the support structure that's surrounding what you're advocating for. So it takes sometimes years to get that reward. And it's a very long, lonely, difficult walk. And it takes folks like Kimberly Moyers to do that, to make our country a better place and our community a better place. That came in at show ranked number 19, and that was episode 102. Number 18, most viewed show. Where are we here? The number 18 most viewed show was Randall Reeder. Now, Randall Reeder is a great friend of mine. That was episode 28. If you guys want to watch a really great show, episode 28, Randall Reeder. He is definitely Hollywood's most recognized tough guy. That's right. You have seen him in Deadpool, and 21 Jump Street, and so many other Hollywood movies. He's that really huge guy that you kind of bump into in a bar, and he's staring down at you. He's got a pool cue in one hand. He's like big old biker guy. Yeah, it's not the guy you want to bump into. He's also been on like Harold and Kumar. I mean, guys, Randall Reeder, talk about a big teddy bear. He even spent some time in the ring wrestling and I think it was the WWF before it became the WWE, but Randall Reeder, man, what an episode this was. And it was one of our newer ones, episode 28, but that came in at number 18 on the list. Congratulations on 1 year today with Tally. Your story to me is my favorite, because you chose to rise from the ashes of hell. You were placed in, but never used that as an excuse to create new doors that you've absolutely busted through. Getting 1% better every day, brother. That is from our great friend, Dave Fecco. That means a lot to me. We've also had Dave Fecco on the show. He's an Uber driver in Columbus, and he plays my podcast all the time. And you would be shocked to know how many people talk about the Today with Ty podcast when they're driving around town. and people become engaged with the show. And I've gotten a lot of new listeners from the Columbus, Ohio region because of Dave Fecko. And you never know who you can reach by just simply putting on a podcast. And again, the education and the knowledge that you can learn from a lot of these podcasts is something that, money cannot buy. Like a great friend of mine, Sergeant Major Cabarrus, retired U.S. Marine, likes to say, is that education costs money, but knowledge is free. And that is very true. And there's a lot of knowledge and value that can be added by listening to a podcast. And there you go. Big Bob. That's right, Fecko. Randall Reeder played Big Bob in Harold and Kumar. But guys, this guy's been in dozens and dozens of movies. And he's even starred in his own show on, it's not Netflix, but I think it's PureFlix, about a biker who's coming out of a one percenter gang, and he's found God, and he's pretty much turning into a great, solid man of conviction and testimony, using God in his faith to overcome getting out of this biker gang, this one percenter gang. And Randall Reeder's a great guy, and his experience and his knowledge and his wisdom that he adds to this show. He's been on twice. It's been great. And he came in at episode 18, and he came in at 18 out of the top 25, and it was episode 28. Coming in at the 17th most viewed show was episode 149, Lieutenant Colonel Brandy BB King. She is a fierce fighting advocate. She was a pilot in the U.S. Air Force for 20 years. She flew the C-5. An amazing woman with an amazing story. And that is episode 149. Talk about an advocate. She spends a lot of her time in Austin, and she also spends a lot of her time throughout the country advocating on behalf of active duty military and veterans. And now she flies a private plane, I believe, for Delta or United. And she's doing big things, and she's continuing on her journey and her legacy in this second chapter of her life as well. What a great podcast that was. Coming in at number 16 most viewed was episode 91, Congressman Morgan Luttrell. What a great guy. Now he's a congressman, but he is also a retired U.S. Navy SEAL. He's got a great story. And now he is spending his time in Washington with his top agenda item is to help ensure that veterans are getting the care they need in VA hospitals, timely care, and to ensure the rights and protections of all veterans when they're being seen in VA hospitals. Folks, it's not easy being a member of Congress, especially being a freshman member of Congress, but he's jumped in and he's filled that role very good. And, and he's done a lot for the veteran community in his short stint being a congressman. I believe he got sworn in just 7 months ago, and he has already done a ton of work in Washington and here in his home district in the Houston metro area. So coming in at the 16th most listened podcast was Congressman Morgan Luttrell, and that is episode 91. Number 15 on our top 25 was Benghazi survivor John Tig Tigan. Tell you what, that was a very good story. You guys want to hear what it was like in Benghazi when they were holding it down? Just go to episode 34 and listen to that. I believe 13 hours is the movie that they made. And that is how long that him and his team had to hold down the CI annex and to protect themselves and the assets they all had there on the ground in Benghazi when they were overtaken by a group of terrorists, a large group of terrorists. So that came in at number 15, and that is episode 34, Tig, John Tig Tigan. Coming in number 14, most viewed, was Charles Strange. He is a Gold Star father, and talk about a tell-all podcast. Go to episode 85 and you will hear the story of Michael Strange. He was a part of Extortion 17, that is Extortion 17. That anniversary was just 4 days ago, August 6th. Their Chinook got shot down, I believe 33, don't quote me on this, I'm just going off memory, perished. And the majority of the folks that did lose their lives in this incident were Navy SEALs, the majority of them. Even a canine was lost in that shoot down of the Chinook by a Taliban fighter. I think an RPG took them out. And to hear the story of directly from the mouth of a Gold Star father, it was intense, and it was eye-opening, and it was jaw-dropping. And that was episode 85, and it came in at the 14th most viewed show. Coming in at number 13 was retired U.S. Navy SEAL Darren Isham. Now, this guy's got a story. Darren Isham was on the mission. He was one of the guys on this special operation that actually went behind enemy lines and helped rescue the first prisoner of war since World War II, and that was PFC Jessica Lynch. And I was able to connect this retired U.S. Navy SEAL, Darren Isham, with Jessica Lynch, and they shared a conversation. And that conversation was so amazing to even be a part. And it was genuine, and it was sincere, and it was one of sincere gratitude from PFC Jessica Lynch when she talked to literally one of the men on the ground that helped rescue her in this special operation mission that was carried out in a joint task force. There was Army, there was Marines, there was Navy. This went down, and they were also able to recover the remains of the ones that we lost during that ambush attack in Nasiriyah, Iraq. Darren Isham was a Navy SEAL from day one. He was one of the few guys that actually signed up to be a Navy SEAL, completed BUDS, and would serve his entire career as a Navy SEAL. Talk about stories, talk about a hardened man, a battle-tested man. Darren Isham, that came in number 13 most viewed, and that is episode 40. A great man, a great American. The 12th most viewed show was episode 35, Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller. Now, you may recall this Lieutenant Colonel. He had some words to say after the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, and he said it right from the battalion that he commanded in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, that would ultimately lead him to be court-martialed and removed from the United States Marine Corps. Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller tells his story, and he shares his opinion on what happened during that day when we lost, I believe it was 11 Marines, and a soldier. And Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller, he didn't pull any punches. Again, he called it like he saw it, and he held nothing back. And he told us everything on how that day went and how his life has unfolded since those events happened during that horrible withdrawal in Afghanistan. That was the 12th most viewed show that came in, and that was episode 35. The 11th most viewed show, episode 98, Chad Prather. Chad is a comedian. He is also the host on Blaze TV and Blaze Radio of the Chad Prather Show, and this man tours the country nationally. And he's a great comedian. He likes to use current events in his shows, and again, what you see is what you get from Chad Prather. He'll make you laugh, he'll make you cry, he'll make you pee your pants. He's so funny, but he does have a heart of gold. And if you listen to what he says, a lot of what he does is he will make you think. And a lot of that thinking is critical thinking. And he just puts things out there that you're like, oh, wow, I never thought about that, or I never looked at it like that. So Chad Prather, a great guy, again, a guy with a heart of gold, a great American. Episode 98, he came in on the 11th most viewed show. Number 10, the 10th most viewed show was former Border Patrol agent Gary Brugman. Now, this guy served time in federal prison. He was accused of doing something he did not do, and that was taking away the constitutional rights of an illegal immigrant on the border. And that was a tough one. He got vulnerable in that one, and he expressed how he felt and how that day went down, and how he found himself in a whirlwind of nightmares that he still struggles with today. Kind of like throwing you under the bus for doing a great job, for doing your job as a Border Patrol agent, a job that, that doesn't come with a lot of fanfare, and one that is very stressful, especially during these times. Gary Brugman came in at the 10th most viewed show, episode 109. The 9th most viewed show was episode 123. That is Bill Brown, a former U.S. Navy SEAL and the founder of the New York City SEAL Swim. This is a swim that everybody can take part in. If you're a veteran, if you're active duty military, or a first responder, you could take part in this swim. It is a hard swim. It's in the Hudson River. They swim by the Statue of Liberty. They end at the 9/11 Memorial there in Manhattan. And it's not just a swim, it's a run. It's pull-ups. I think it's push-ups. It's these guys get down and dirty, and talk about the amount of training that it takes to do this swim every single year. I think they started training 3 months ago for this event that is coming up, I believe, this month. I think in about another week and a half, it's going to be happening in New York City, the SEAL Swim. Bill Brown, he is now also an attorney, veteran advocate, and again, a major champion in the veteran and first responder community. Bill Brown, episode 123, the 9th most viewed show. Coming in at the 8th most viewed show, Michael Potter. Michael is from Houston, and he is also a chief in the U.S. Navy. He's also the founder of the Wharton Veterans Group. Wharton is his county. It's the Wharton County Veterans Service Organization. It's something like that. But Michael Potter has a lot of real life value that he added to a lot of our listeners. He's a very well respected veteran advocate, And again, he's a Navy chief. He's been around the military his whole entire life. He's dedicated his whole entire life to service, and now he continues on that mission today. And I believe he's still even in the reserves. So he's kind of juggling two things right now. But that show had some awesome reviews, and a lot of people tuned into that show. If you're a veteran, that might be a really good one for you. Episode 134. Michael Potter, U.S. Navy Chief. Episode 134, the 8th most rated show. The 7th most viewed show was episode 128, attorney and veteran advocate Benjamin Krause. Benjamin Krause is very well known and very well respected in the veteran community, especially when it comes to federal tort law claims. I think he helps with so many things relating to when you get out of service, if there's a medical malpractice case that you need help with. He does so much. I mean, this show, we covered a lot. But that's just a little facet of what he does. He does a ton in the veteran community and the veteran advocacy world. That was the 7th most viewed show because he's followed by so many veterans out there. And again, he's making a name for himself every single day. And again, very well-respected attorney and veteran advocate. Episode 128, Benjamin Krause. Coming in, the 6th most viewed show was episode 161. Absolutely heartbreaking. The story of Scott Hoffman. This man was nearly killed due to VA malpractice and gross negligence in the 80s. I think it was 1984. I was 7 years old. He outlived his medical he outlived his, I think he received $3 million from his settlement. And now they're completely out of money. And the $3 million didn't go toward a lavish home and a Lamborghini. It went toward his medical care for the last, 40 years, for the last 39 years. And he's outlived that. And so now he can't even go back to the VA for like another 4 years. It's a crazy story, guys. This story is one that will make you scratch your head and be very, very upset. This story that we did on the podcast even got shared by I think it was one of the lead guitarists or singers with Guns N' Roses. That hit him, and I think he even helped donate toward Scott Hoffman and his family, as right now they're trying to pick up the pieces on not only Scott Hoffman, as he lives a life that is completely bedridden, but trying to just keep their home. And that was episode 161, guys. If you want to hear a story and you want to hear it all, I'm talking straight from the mother of Scott Hoffman and his 2 sisters as they plead for help. I would definitely tune into that episode 161, and you could see just how so many people out there in our community, in our country, to people that have served this great nation. Episode 5. Now, this is a crazy one because we just did this episode not long ago. This is episode 166, and it's already the 5th most viewed show. Jesse Jones, who is the Boulder High School football coach. That's right, folks. He is right down the road from CU, the University of Colorado, who they have also welcomed in Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, and they were both hired about the same time. And they have a lot of commonalities. And I do believe that Jesse Jones and Coach Prime are going to be able to hook up here soon in Boulder. And pretty soon, Boulder High School will be a feeder school right into the University of Colorado. So Jesse Jones also played professional football. And and has been a coach his entire life, whether it comes to personal training, mindset, accomplishing goals, entrepreneurship, and X's and O's. Jesse Jones does it all. He gives it all to you, real, live, raw, and unscripted. Jesse Jones, episode 166, number 5 on the top 25. Number 4, the fourth most viewed show was episode 68. That was POW, PFC, Jessica Lynch. She shares her story. She got extremely vulnerable in this, and she did not leave anything out. She told me a lot more than I thought she would. And I don't press people on this show. I just don't press people. That's not my style. My style is to add real life value to the lives of everyday people. My job is not to make my guests feel uncomfortable or putting them on the spot to get them to speak so I get more people to watch the show. That's not what this podcast is about. I always allow them to say what they would like to say. It's an open forum. Again, I don't push, I don't prod, I don't do any of that stuff. And I'm always very well respectable when I ask, if you don't want to speak about this, if you don't want to discuss this, we can move on to something else. But PFC Jessica Lynch got very vulnerable, and she told this story of survival that she went through, and what she suffered through, and what her fellow soldiers that didn't make it went through on that devastating day in Nasiriyah, Iraq, when their convoy was ambushed. That was the number 4 most viewed podcast, and that was episode 68. The third, number 3 most viewed show, Chris Whittemore. Chris Whittemore. He is a retired Marine Scout sniper. He's also an author, and he's also a VA claims specialist. Now, this was episode 110. And I believe the reason why this show did so well is because he is full of knowledge that so many veterans need. We have a lot of veterans that listen to this program, and the information that he shared that day was valuable information. It was valuable enough for so many people to tune in to hear it. And that was episode 110. The third most watched show, Chris Whittemore, VA claims specialist. This guy is phenomenal. I call him any time of the day. He'll answer his phone. I'm currently helping him I'm currently helping one of my friends who just tragically lost her husband get the help that she needs when it comes to VA survivor benefits. And they're not even in the same county, but he's there to help. And, this guy extends olive branches to so many different people. I get contacted all the time from people that need help. And if I can't help them, I begin to use my valuable resources and I send them to places that I know that they will receive great help by good people. And Chris Whittemore is one of those guys. So congratulations, Chris. Number 3, man. And again, guys, this isn't me. These are analytics and coming from 8 platforms. Number 2 most viewed show, and it was episode 90, is really the voice of the military and veteran world. That is the CEO of American Military News, Kellen Gaida. Now, Kellen started American Military News quite some time ago, and he has made a big name for himself in the veteran and military news platform. If you will, they report the news. That's all they do. They don't report opinions. He gives you news, you read it, and you either share it or at least you have the knowledge, and you know what's going on. But he's done a great job, and he also helps so many veterans and folks that are in the military get their story out. He gives the voiceless a voice. He really does. He gives the voiceless a voice, and he's got a great staff. And American Military News is as respectable as they get when it comes to journalism in our day and age. So congratulations. Number 2, second most viewed show that came in at episode 90. Number 1, congratulations to Lieutenant Colonel Peter Chambers. Now, Colonel Pete is a retired Green Beret, and he's also a special operations flight surgeon. This guy served, I want to say, like 30-something years in the Army. And I tell you what, this guy's story is amazing. He's done it all. He's done it all. And talk about a life of service and everything that this man has been through and seen with his own eyes. It is truly remarkable. And he didn't have number 1 by just a little bit. He had number 1 by leaps and bounds. That was episode 115. Lieutenant Colonel Peter Chambers, retired Green Beret and Special Operations Flight Surgeon. Again, you put a rifle in his hand, and he's a doctor too. And it didn't all come in one fall swoop. He worked very hard to get to the point to where he is now. And he is still, even though he's retired, he's still working every single day. And he's working on the border in South Texas. And he is advocating for veterans and folks in the military every single day. This guy is a wealth of knowledge, and the words that he shares with us on this podcast is worth its weight in gold. So congratulations to the most viewed show in Today with on the Today with Tally podcast over the last year is episode 115. Lieutenant Colonel Pete Chambers, Doc Pete. That's what they call him, Doc Pete, Colonel Pete. So that's the top 25. That is the top 25 most viewed shows. Again, we've done 170 or it's either 168 or 178 shows. It's one of those two. And again, personally, I think they're all great. But I just wanted to share what the top analytics were. And that is what we have done. Another thing I wanted to share with you guys is how serious I take this podcast. I do my homework. I do a lot of my own research, and I am fully prepared for my guests. I want to make every single one of my guests feel special and feel important. I create content, and I make the show very appealing, and I spend a lot of time, promoting the show and getting it out there, so I can be a valuable resource and give, great people a platform for an hour. And, again, the time and the effort and the dedication that I put into the show every single time I do an episode, and really every single day, I'm always working toward it. Even though I'm not doing an episode that day, I'm still working on future episodes and content and creating, the content that is needed to add meaning, to show, hey, look, this could be a very meaningful show. That definitely means a lot to me. And if you ever come on this show, you will know exactly what I mean when it comes to making you feel like you're at home and I'm very easy to speak to when you were on this show and a guest on the Today with Tally podcast. Folks, if you want to be a guest on the Today with Tally podcast, go to briantally.com, send me a message through there. And folks, without further ado, I just want to thank you all so much for joining us today on this live show. And folks, I always end the show like this, man. You know what I mean? Just always remember to just stay inspired, stay encouraged, stay motivated, and always stay in the fight. Until next time, for Today with Tally podcast, this is Brian Tally. Good night, Semper Fi, and God bless.